Americans love scenery. We want to see it all, from one coast to the next, Mount Rushmore down to the Everglades. So hop into a Chevy Malibu and take the scenic route. It's the car you knew America could build. There's a place where people count on friendships they can trace back generations, where they can count on the same stool at the coffee shop waiting for them every morning. This place is called Glen Ellen, and you can find it in every bottle of Glen Ellen wine. This is craft brewed Herman Joseph's, the smoothest, easiest drinking specialty beer in the entire solar system. And I believe you'll find drinkable in the dictionary right after don't order a beer you can't drink. Zoingo! Boingo! The freestyle pogo with more boing, more bounce. Bounce further, bounce higher with Zoingo Boingo. To see what makes Arrowhead Mountain Spring water different from those other waters, you have to go back to the source. And with Arrowhead, that means going back a little farther and longer than most. Between security challenged and security strengthened, there's one important word: how. And it is the how that makes all the difference to our nation and our world. Lockheed Martin. We never forget who we're working for. What makes Kraft Singles so good? 2 out of every 3 kids don't get the recommended amount of calcium. But with Kraft Singles, they get a good source of calcium and the taste they love. Kraft Singles. Magic every single time. Throw boring overboard with a new real meal from Long John Silver's. A meal worthy of a plate. Just $4.99. Only at Long John Silver's. We may not all be geniuses, but we can all do something smart. Introducing the Hyundai 199 Sonata Lease. It's a smart deal on a really smart car.
I live in Brooklyn now. Whenever I tell my friends my family's Republican, they're always like, you need to confront them. You need to talk to them. You need to convince them they're wrong. And I'm like, yeah, man, they don't respect me. They think I'm a pussy because I eat hummus. You know? They're like, Geoffrey likes that Sharia peanut butter. All my friends are like, you need to convince them to support universal health care. I'm like, we need to start smaller than that. How about I convince them roundabouts aren't communist? My uncle's like, roundabouts are just the liberals trying to trick us into going right for a bit, then left forever.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, Trump Tuesday, April the 8th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have the headlines, patriotic shorts, Bishop Barron, Ayn Rand, motivation, and Donald Trump. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Now the headlines for Tuesday, April the 8th. Soccer coach charged with murdering 13-year-old LA boy due in court. Burglars ram truck into eyewear shop. Trial for woman accused of plotting to kill LA hairstylist nears end. A mini heat wave is coming to Southern California. 19-year-old girl among victims in deadly Santa Ana crash. Proposed California bill would extend last call hours until 4 a.m. Dire wolf revived through de-extinction process. And those were the headlines for Tuesday, April the 8th. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, the political corner.
Congratulations, Brian. And others. We have a couple of senators here. I just don't particularly like them, so I won't introduce. Over the course of this amazing season, the members of this team... I didn't think it was that big a deal, actually. Washington. Over the course of this amazing season, the members of this team gave us some of the most incredible...
And that was the political corner. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now the patriotic short.
Did the failure of FDR to be sufficiently anti-communist contribute to how much land that the Soviet Union was able to accumulate?
Oh, well, he died, so we don't know fully, but he was mobilizing the United States to prepare for war while the America Firsters were saying, no, isolationism is the way to go. So he was preparing all of that. And yeah, if you're going to defeat Hitler, if you're an offshore power like Britain and the United States are, as in the Napoleonic Wars, you need a local continental power with a huge army if you're going to deal with that continental problem. Russia has that army. So you're going to cooperate with Russia in the near term to get rid of the really big problem, which is Hitler, who's far more efficient than the Russians are. He's also located near the high-value areas of Europe, the industrialized parts of Europe, whereas Russia is further away. You're going to deal with Hitler first, and then if you're going to have Stalin your ally, of course you're going to say nice things about him. Well, that doesn't make you a communist. That just...
And that was the patriotic short. Back in a minute. And now a little bit of motivation.
What do you do when it seems like suffering won't stop? What do you do when it feels like your pain doesn't have a point? What does it do when it feels like your weaknesses continue to worsen?
Maybe you've taken a knockdown concerning your finances lately. Maybe it's with your kids, maybe with your marriage, maybe with your health, maybe some other arena of life. You're laying on the mat, gasping, and you don't know what you're going to do.
People ask you how you are, and you say fine, but you're not fine, and they'll never know that. We're people. We're people, and we struggle, and we suffer, and we bleed, and we cry. And if you think that true strength means never showing any weakness, then I'm here to tell you, you're wrong. You're wrong because it's the opposite.
You're going to get depressed sometimes. You're going to have weeks where you don't feel like eating, where gravity is working overtime like it's afraid of getting laid off, and you can barely lift your fork to your mouth, and you are going to have a choice.
You have a choice to either give up or keep going. Give up or get up. It's like you have to save your own life. Nobody's going to be able to save it for you. So we have to do what we have to do. No matter what it is. We all struggle. We all know what it is to hurt. We all know what it is to have pain in our heart. And you know what? It's okay. That's just a part of life. As much as I hate some of the parts of my life depression has dragged me down to, in a lot of ways I'm grateful for it. Because yeah, it's put me in the valleys, but only to show me there's peaks. And yeah, it's dragged me through the dark, but only to remind me there is light.
Life is not always good. Life is not always rosy. Life is worth living. When you fail, try again. And again. And again.
Hold on to that fundamental quality of faith. Have faith that on the other side of your pain is something good.
I believe that this is your beginning, but this doesn't have to be your end. That just because you are currently here, this is your present circumstances, that life don't have to end for you right now. This might be a page in your life. It might even be a chapter in your life, but it ain't the book, baby. You are not finished writing yet, so I need you to get busy living. Are you hearing me? I need you to get busy living. There is still time. As long as there's breath in your nostrils, as long as you can wake up in the morning, you still in the game, which means if you're in the game and there's still time in the game, still time left in the game, you can still win the game.
The last chapter of your story has not been written yet. The fact that you're here today is a testament to the fact that the devil hasn't been able to destroy you.
You're in the darkest place in your life right now. You're at the darkest place in your life right now. Hold on. Don't give up. Don't quit. You're at the darkest point in your life. If you could just look at your situation from a different angle and realize that beauty does come from death.
Are you in a storm or are you just in between two miracles? You take those terrible events in your life and you create a new story of triumph. We gotta become something new. We take those traumas, we take that pain, and we allow it to become a part of who we want to be. What if I told you that there's greatness on the other side of your darkness, that there is joy on the other side of your pain? What if I told you you got everything you need to make it through your storm? This storm will not take you out.
And I know you've been tired, and I know it's been hurting, and I know it's been lifelong, and it might be an addiction. It may be wondering how much longer you're going to have a job, or when you're going to get one, or when this is all going to be over. But you're not going to die in this trial. You're going to make it. In fact, you're going to be better.
I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to tell yourself, I am a survivor. Listen to me and you can get through this. I want you to speak life into that thing. Whatever it is, what's frustrating you, like for real. You feel like, I can't go through another day like this. I can't handle it. I can't take it. Listen to me very closely. Say it with me and breathe life into whatever that thing is. Whatever your circumstances are, say with me, I can. I can. I can get through this. I will. I will get through this. I must.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little bit of meditation. And that's a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the Daily Stoic.
Make the words your own. Many words have been spoken by Plato, Zeno, Chrysippus, Posidonius, and by a whole host of equally excellent Stoics. I'll tell you how people can prove their words to be their own by putting into practice what they've been preaching. Seneca, Moral Letters, 108.35 and 38. One of the criticisms of Stoicism by modern translators and teachers is the amount of repetition. Marcus Aurelius, for example, has been dismissed by academics as not being original because his writing resembles that of other earlier Stoics. This criticism misses the point. Even before Marcus's time, Seneca was well aware that there was a lot of borrowing and overlap among the philosophers. That's because real philosophers weren't concerned with authorship, only what worked. More important, they believed that what was said mattered less than what was done. And this is as true now as it was then. You're welcome to take all of the words of the great philosophers and use them to your own liking. They're dead. They don't mind. Feel free to tweak and edit and improve as you like. Adapt them to the real conditions of the real world. The way to prove that you truly understand what you speak and write, that you truly are original, is to put them into practice. Speak them with your actions more than anything else.
And that was the Daily Stoic. Thank you. And now, Padre Pio.
St. Pio had a very special dream in 1916, which happened to be the Feast of the Holy Rosary. He found himself at the window of the choir stalls of the little church in San Giovanni Rotondo, and on the square in front of this was an enormous crowd. Leaning out of the window, he asked them who they were and what they wanted. In unison, the crowd shouted at the top of their voices they wanted him dead. Pio realized that they were all devils and returned to the choir stalls to pray. The Holy Mother immediately came to him with a grief-stricken maternal glance and determined gestures. She placed in his hand a weapon, saying to him that he will win with it. Pio then took it to the window of the choir stalls, and in a flash, all those people fell dead to the ground. Shortly before his death, St. Pio expressed his last wish to his spiritual children, to love Our Lady and make her loved, and always recite the Holy Rosary.
And that was St. Pio. And now, the Ayn Rand thought of the day. Quote, if some men are entitled by right to the products of the work of others, it means that those others are deprived of rights and condemned to slave labor. Any alleged right of one man, which necessitates the violation of the rights of another, is not and cannot be a right, unquote. That was Ayn Rand from the chapter Man's Rights from the book The Virtue of Selfishness. Back in a minute. And now, method number 5 from the book Effective Personal Communication, Beautify, also known as reword, rephrase, glass half full method. In this technique, you replace someone else's unsatisfactory statement with your own satisfactory statement. In other words, you replace a statement that puts you at a disadvantage in a debate with one that is advantageous to you. Hence, you beautify the words of your opponent, which he had intended to be and sound ugly. This can, however, go both ways. It's possible your opponent said something positive or supportive to his cause, but it's more advantageous to you to shed light on the negative aspects of the situation. As the saying goes, beauty lies in the eye of the gazer. Likewise, over here, beautify means beauty in your view. It doesn't necessarily mean what you say is beautiful or correct in the eyes of everyone. Let us see a practical manifestation of the method. When Thomas Edison was searching for the right element to make the filament of the light bulb, he and his assistant experimented with 2,000 different materials. In the end, his assistant said, "All our hard work is in vain. We have gained nothing." But Edison said, "We've come a long way, and we've learned a lot. We know that there are 2,000 elements that cannot make a good light bulb." Essentially, both Edison and his assistant have said the same thing, namely, they researched 2,000 elements to make a bulb filament, and none of the elements proved useful for this purpose. But the words Edison chose for his sentence completely altered the meaning of what his assistant had said regarding the matter. Edison beautified the ugly and pessimistic words of his assistants. It's like one person says, "This is the end of an era." Then the other person replies, "No, this is the start of an era." The event is same, and both people are correct. The difference, however, lies in interpretation. One person is thinking in terms of the past, while the other is more focused on the future. This technique has a meaning and significance deeper than just being used in debate. For this technique not only has an effect on your adversary in a debate, but also subconsciously changes your perception. The following is an example to clarify this point. There's a story of a brave and genius general who led his country's armies to victory against a much larger country, its archenemy, whose generals had much larger armies than his own. After several years of combat, the generals of the latter country became convinced that as long as this legendary general remained, they would never be able to beat his country. Therefore, they decided to use a cunning strategy against the general. They sent an army to attack a town in his country, and when the general came to protect that town from the invaders, they sent another army that attacked another part of the general's country where his parents lived. As planned, they captured the general's parents and sent the general a message to either surrender himself to them or they would send him his parents' heads. The general had the utmost love and respect for his parents, yet he was in the middle of a war, and he knew that if he surrendered, his army would be leaderless and demoralized. His country would fall, and its citizens slaughtered like sheep. So he did not surrender, and his enemies lost another battle. Angry and demoralized, they killed his parents and sent him their heads with the message, "You killed your parents." The general replied, "Some cowardly beasts killed my parents because I stopped them from killing thousands of other people." The reality is ultimately what one believes it to be. It doesn't matter what anybody else says unless you believe what they say. If someone tells you that you are a bad person, it won't affect you at all unless you think what they say matters. Sometimes the best strategy is to counter an objection. To counter an objection is not to get embroiled in answering the allegation directly, but to turn the objection upside down. There are a number of wise quotations which tell us that the reality doesn't matter, it's our opinion that does, such as, "You can never have a good day with a bad attitude and a bad day with a good attitude." Belief is both an important catalyst and a necessary ingredient for winning a debate. That is to state, if you believe what you say, you will say it with more confidence and not be placed in doubt by the opponent's arguments. On the flip side, if you make your opponent believe in you, he won't be able to give arguments with firmness and conviction. He would be speaking against what he himself believes. So he will speak with hesitation. His arguments will sound feeble and sheepish. It is human nature to love the truth, but the way different people define truth induces a very bizarre picture of humanity. The same person may be considered a terrorist by one party and a freedom fighter by another. So when the group which deems him a terrorist speaks about him killing their soldiers, they say things like, "The cold-blooded terrorist murdered our country's brave and loyal soldiers." This is an act of high treason. The person displays a serious lack of humanity and is an enemy of the people of our country. But when his comrades talk about him, they say, "What a brave man. He killed so many of the cruel soldiers of our oppressive rulers. He is a hero and role model for all of us. He is the face of justice and gives hope to our country's people." So, you see how much people differ in their opinions about the same thing. When you're debating with your opponent in front of other people, this technique is very useful in changing people's opinions in your favor. For example, a person says, "The old man will be so heartbroken to learn that his son was killed in war. We shouldn't tell him anything." However, another person counter-argues, no, the old man will be pleased to learn that his son achieved martyrdom. We should definitely inform him. The number of situations where shame can be turned into pride, or vice versa, with a single sentence will amaze you. Beautify is one of the more direct methods of debate. Instead of ignoring your opponent's argument and giving your own arguments, you tell your opponent that his complaint is incorrect, and then you tell him your view, which you have actually constructed from the same base point as his view, but you have sugar-coated the base point. A remarkable quality of the Beautify method is that you are facing the opponent's arguments head-on instead of skirting around them. This makes it a truly impressive method. And it's a method that works best when nobody has bothered to define their terms. That's what makes it seem as though everything is subjective, that seems as though words have no meaning, or they mean whatever different people want them to mean, is because they haven't been defined. Once they've been defined, and once you come to terms with your opponent, they can't do that. Okay, they can't come out and say, well, I look at it a different way, because they've already agreed to the, let's say, dictionary definition of the word. So that's, as a matter of fact, what got Bill Clinton in trouble. Bill Clinton, when he got disbarred, it was because he said, well, it depends on what the meaning of the word is. And right there, he gave up the game. Because nobody believes that a Rhodes Scholar, President of the United States, doesn't know what the meaning of the word is. Okay, what he meant to say was, it depends on what you mean by the word is. Then he might have gotten away with it. Probably, well, I hope not. I hope somebody would have brought a dictionary out and defined the meaning of the word is and settled it. But that's how you work that angle. You've got to use a dictionary. You've got to come to terms. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Maria, then Stu.
Today, after the huge sell-off we saw in the last couple of days.
Absolutely. You bet.
All right.
You bet it.
Great to be with you all today. Thank you so much. Mark Tepper, Mahet Cook, and Cheryl Casoni. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you again tomorrow, everybody. Varney and Company picks it up. Stu, take it away.
If you insist. Good morning, Maria, and good morning, everyone. Stocks will open higher this morning. So far, it's not been a full restoration of all the losses, but it's green on the screen. Yes, it is safe to look at your account again. Now look at this. Dow Industrial is up about 1,000 points. That's the pre-market reading. S&P up 123, NASDAQ up 400. In percentage terms, 2% up for all those indicators. There is positive news on tariffs. Treasury Secretary Bessent says maybe 70 countries have approached the administration willing to make deals. He says our government will negotiate a golden age of trade with Japan. That's important. There is also negative news on tariff. 3 hours from now, if China has not ended tariffs on America, Trump will impose an extra 50% tariff on Beijing. China has already said they will fight to the end. Scott Bessent said China's escalation is a big mistake. Trump usually doesn't back down, so escalation arrives at noon. Interest rates a little higher this morning. We have the 10-year coming in at 4.22%. As for the 2-year, way below 4%, you're actually now at 3.80. Bitcoin moving up, $79,800 a coin. Gold just over $3,000 an ounce. And here's what we have on the show today. A big win for the president. The Supreme Court has lifted a judge's order that blocked the deportation of suspected gang members to the prison in El Salvador. But deportees must be given due process before they're removed. That takes time. Elon Musk reveals the extent of fraud and mismanagement in the handling of migrants. Over 3 million have been given Social Security numbers. They got them in the mail, no interview, no proof of identity. 1.3 million are now on Medicaid. Millions have been given driver's licenses. Some have registered to vote. More on that coming up.
On Saturday, the president's team starts direct nuclear talks with Iran. Monday, Trump said Iran would not be allowed to get a bomb. He's laying on maximum pressure. 6 B-2 bombers have been moved to the base in Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. They can carry bunker-busting bombs for any attack on Iran's underground nuclear facilities. The president welcomes the World Series champions, the Los Angeles Dodgers, to the White House. He was funny. He was entertaining. All of that right in the middle of dealing with tariffs, a market sell-off, and a visit from Benjamin Netanyahu. Where does he get the energy? Tuesday, April 8th, 2025, Varney and Company is about to begin.
And that was Maria and Stu. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Chapter 2 of Byung-Chul Han's Psychopolitics.
2. Smart power. Power commands highly different modes of appearance. Its most direct and immediate form finds expression as the negation of freedom. This enables power holders to impose their will against the will of those subject to power, by violence, if need be. However, power is not limited to breaking down resistance and forcing obedience. It need not take the form of coercion. Power that relies on violence does not represent power of the highest order. The mere fact that another will manages to form and turn against the power holder attests to the latter's weakness. Wherever power does not come into view at all, it exists without question. The greater power is, the more quietly it works. It just happens. It has no need to draw attention to itself. To be sure, power can express itself as violence or repression, but it is not based on force. Power need not exclude, prohibit, or censor, nor does it stand opposed to freedom. Indeed, power can even use freedom to its own ends. Only in its negative form does power manifest itself as a violence that says no by shattering the will and annulling freedom. Today, power is assuming increasingly permissive forms. In its permissivity, indeed, in its friendliness, power is shedding its negativity and presenting itself as freedom. Disciplinary power is still commanded by negativity. Its mode of articulation is inhibitive, not permissive. Because it is negative, it does not describe the neoliberal regime, which beams forth in positivity. The neoliberal regime's technology of power takes on subtle, supple, and smart forms. Thereby, it escapes all visibility. Now the subjugated subject is not even aware of its own subjugation. The whole context of domination, Herrschaftszusammenhang, remains entirely hidden. Consequently, the subject thinks itself free. Inasmuch as it expends a great deal of energy to force people into the straitjacket of commandments and prohibitions, disciplinary power proves inefficient. A significantly more efficient technology of power makes sure that people subordinate themselves to power relations on their own. Such a dynamic seeks to activate, motivate, and optimize, not to inhibit or repress. It proves so effective because it does not operate by means of forbidding and depriving, but by pleasing and fulfilling. Instead of making people compliant, it seeks to make them dependent. Power that is smart and friendly does not operate frontally, that is, against the will of those who are subject to it. Instead, it guides their will to its own benefit. It says yes more often than no. It operates seductively, not repressively. It seeks to call forth positive emotions and exploit them. It leads astray instead of erecting obstacles. Instead of standing opposed to the subject, Smart and friendly power meets the subject halfway. Smart power cozies up to the psyche rather than disciplining it through coercion or prohibitions. It does not impose silence. Rather, it is constantly calling on us to confide, share, and participate, to communicate our opinions, needs, wishes, and preferences, to tell all about our lives. Friendly power proves more powerful, as it were, than purely repressive power. It manages not to be seen at all. Today's crisis of freedom stems from the fact that the operative technology of power does not negate or repress freedom so much as exploit it. Free choice, Wahl, is eliminated to make way for a free selection, Auswahl, from among the items on offer. Smart power with a liberal, friendly appearance, power that stimulates and seduces, is more compelling than power that imposes, threatens, and decrees. Its signal and seal is the like button. Now people subjugate themselves to domination by consuming and communicating, and they click like all the while. Neoliberalism is the capitalism of like. It is fundamentally different from 19th century capitalism, which operated by means of disciplinary constraints and prohibitions. Smart power reads and appraises our conscious and unconscious thoughts. It places its stock in voluntary self-organization and self-optimization. As such, it has no need to overcome resistance. Mastery of this sort requires no great expenditure of energy or violence. It simply happens. The capitalism of like should come with a warning label. Protect me from what I want.
And that was Chapter 2, Smart Power, from Byung-Chul Han's Psychopolitics, Neoliberalism and Technologies of Power. Back in a minute. Thank you. And this is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that rights are not collective. They are joint and several.